prepare in mind, body, and spirit for our service today. Today's reading comes from the journal, Joyous Living Journal by Petra Wells and Christian Sorensen. Today's reading is entitled The Ride of Your Life. There is something in you that wants to comfort and triumph over your fears and doubts and master the earthly forces, freeing yourself to be your potential fully expressed. You've got your logical side, whose job it is to keep you comfortable in the familiar, and you've got your intuitive urgings enticing you to explore greater possibilities. When you don't honor your soul's urge, you put yourself on a collision course leading to a crash. You can get there through the drama of a crash, or choose to listen to your soul's urgings and be guided to your destiny. The approach is your choice. And if you would please take these words into the silence for a few moments with me. And centered right here in this glorious moment of love, knowing we have been called and heard the call of love within us. And I'm knowing that this service is a divine exercise in love, is a divine experience of the love of the universe pouring forth through each and every one of us. I'm knowing that Reverend Cece is so uplifted and so divinely guided in her words. I'm knowing that it is the voice of love, the voice of the divine that speaks through her. And I'm knowing that our children are so deeply held in love, that they are uplifted and supported in all that they do. And I'm knowing each and every one of us is impacted, is touched, is moved by the love that is in the center of our being, that is moving in and through all things. I'm knowing that this is a circle of love, a community of love, a time of love. And I give thanks. And so be it, and so it is. Amen.
So we're talking about creativity this July, and it's an interesting thing when you stop to think about it, because we're all creating all the time, whether we're conscious of it or not. We can't do otherwise because we're always thinking. We're always thinking. And so we're always creating our experience, our perspective, our beliefs, our attitudes, our surroundings, our relationships. It's all just sort of spinning out of this constant thought process that we have. And today I really wanted to start with the idea of creativity, because it's sort of what sets us apart from the rest of the natural world. We have the ability, some animals do too, but not to the extent that we do. We have the ability to look at what we already know and sort of project it out into the future in a new way. And yeah, some animals will use a stick to get food. Even crows will do that. I mean, even, you know, some of the animals we don't think about as being terrifically smart. But we humans can take those natural elements and with our creativity make something brand new. I mean, where do you think plastic comes from? It came from someone thinking, I could take this tarry black goo and do something to it and it would be hard like this and clear and shiny. Amazing. Who'd thought? But I mean, you know, plastic is maybe not our best choice. How about medicines and coffee mugs and pianos and keyboards and drum sets and instruments and houses and cell phones and iPads and the internet and all those other things that have become part of our lives? They all come from the creativity of human beings being able to take what they already know and project it into the future in a new way. It's an amazing gift, and it's a precious gift, because the way we use it has everything to do with the quality of our lives. Everything. We can either live fully and freely and expressively, or we can kind of endure life. And that's the choice that creativity sort of gives us every minute of every day. We get to decide how much we enjoy this thing called life that we have the opportunity, the precious opportunity to experience. Creativity is a soul force, I think, and we're born with it. It's the divine urge to express itself in all things, and it comes through us. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, said it this way. He said, you and I have within us that thing which is going to manifest itself. It's going to. It's God that wants to do it. It's not the human you or the human me at all. There is only the divine one which flows through all. So this divine one that expresses itself as creativity has created through that urge everything, including us, and it's life itself that is that creative urge. Some people call it the Buddha nature, some call it the higher self, some call it the divine, the inner divine, whatever it is. It expresses itself as us, and we are given this gift of being able to consciously direct it, guide it, decide how it's going to be expressed through us, or to kind of let the default happen and feel powerless. The other thing that about this human channeled creativity that I find fascinating is that we can tell the difference between the passionate creativity that's trying to make itself known to us and the sort of everyday creativity that we may do at our jobs, or we may do even in, hobbies. There's something in us that's always pushing us to be more, to become bigger, to experience life in a bigger way, to be more free. In the Gospel of Thomas, which is from the Nag Hammadi, which was a series of scrolls buried in the side of a mountain in clay jars in 1956, I think. They've been buried there for thousands of years. The Gospel of Thomas is a series of Jesus's wisdom sayings. And one of my favorites is, if you bring forth that which is within you, then that which is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth that which is within you, then that which is within you will destroy you. It's one of those odd little things where you kind of go, huh? And I think today's reading is a restatement of that. There's something in you that wants you to confront and triumph over your fears and doubts. Wants you to master these earthly forces. And and be all that you came here to be yourself fully expressed. And it says when you don't honor that urge, you put yourself on the course for a collision. And there's our choice, right? Do we want to do the drama of the crash, hoping we wake up? I mean, I think that's why sometimes we get led to those crashes. It's like, maybe if this happens, they'll wake up, Sometimes we sleep through the crashes. I know I have. But we can also choose to listen to that urging that's always trying to get us to step out and to become more fully who we are. The approach is your choice, the reading says. The thing about this creativity that we're talking about is that it won't be denied. It just won't be. It will come out somehow. It will come out either in a crash, which may look like dis-ease. It may look like what you might call a nervous breakdown, which I always call a nervous breakthrough. Or it might come out as anger and bitterness and sabotaging jobs and relationships and things like that. Or it might come through our conscious awareness, and we understand it as the urge to be all that we can be, all that we were meant to be, all that we are meant to do, all that we are meant to have. It's the understanding that with that creative urge comes everything that we need to express it, If we consciously bring forth that which is within us, it will save us. It will lead us, however, as the title of the talk says, on the ride of our lives. It will. It is one of those forces that can take us to places and spaces we didn't think we were going to go. Some of them we've never even imagined. More on that in a minute, but I think that's really what the Gospel of Thomas is talking about. It will save us if we open up to it and trust it and let it show us our purpose in being here. And provide us with everything we need to fulfill that purpose. But what we usually do is we get an inkling of where we're being kind of guided to go and say, "Ooh, nope, constrict, shut down, turn off." We shut down that in us which is in touch with that creative flow. Because sometimes our inner creative urging will lead us to different sorts of places and different sorts of ideas and different ways of being, and it's somewhere we've never been before. So we get nervous because we don't know what it looks like. We don't know what we're going to look like when we're through it. But the whole point is to go somewhere we've never been before. If we just keep staying where we've already been, we just keep having the same life over and over. It's Groundhog Day again, The point of life is to go someplace we've never been before, to be somebody we've never been before, and to do things we've never done before. Because that's how we grow, that's how we change and evolve. And that's what life is really all about, in my view anyway, that it's about growing and evolving into something more than we were yesterday. But there's part of us that tells us that life is really about being safe and knowing the end of the plan because we planned it and sort of just letting it be that and only that. And we tell ourselves that, and other people tell us that as well. When you were a little kid, did you have wild and crazy dreams? Boy, I did. I wanted to be a spy for the longest time. I had this really cool spy kit. It had a pen with a hidden camera and a hat. Of course, you got to have the hat. And fingerprint powder and all kinds of stuff. And so I spied on my family and I spied on the neighbors. And for a really long time, I was a spy. And then I got really tired of sort of the same people doing the same things all the time. I wanted somebody to do something exciting, and they never did. So then I decided I wanted to be a rock star. And so I did that for a while too, until I got tired of people telling me to stop that noise. And then I decided I really wanted to be a dancer, and I was a round little girl. And so I convinced my mother that I should be allowed to take dance lessons. And she said, sure, as long as you keep up with the piano lessons, which I really didn't like. So for a while I did both. And then my mother said, that's not practical and we don't have the money. She could still pay for the piano lessons, but not the dance lessons. And I think she did it because it's all she knew. My mother had a magnificent coloratura voice. It was incredible. I remember, I can still hear her in singing in church when I was a little girl. She had a beautiful voice, so beautiful she was invited to audition for the Met in New York. And her father said, that's not a practical way to make a living, and it's not a practical use of money. And so she couldn't go. And it was her dream to be a singer. And so I think she wasn't doing anything malicious. She was just doing what she'd been taught to do with her own kids. And that is being practical, which is what society always tells us, to be practical. And there is something to be said for practicality as opposed to insanity, but there's also something to be said for putting practicality aside when we're dreaming our dreams, when we're seeing about what we might be able to do to satisfy that inner urging that's always trying to come through us. Some people say, well, just take it up as a hobby. I don't know about you, but who has time for a hobby? You know, it's really difficult to spend the creative time we want to spend until we move it up a little bit up on the list, more than just an occasional hobby. It has to be something that we're passionate about. If you think back to when you were a kid and you were absolutely passionate about something, that life is still there. It can't be less than it was because it's just still alive. It's still burning in you. It's still moving in you. It's still infusing you with that same power. And all we have to do is connect to that and ask what it is that is burning inside of me to do. We've stuffed it for so long, it's hard to find sometimes. But if we can reconnect with that power, if we can allow ourselves the time and space to listen to the urging that's already there, if we give our creative imagination enough space to get our attention, just to get our attention, we just have to do that, and then we have to stop putting the brakes on our own imagination. I don't know about you, but I'll get an idea, and there is a part of me that instantly says, well, that's not practical. You don't have the whatever to do that. You should just tell that to sit down and, take a seat later with you and stop putting the brakes on the flow of divine creativity that's living inside of each one of us. And I think our spiritual practices can be really helpful here if there's something in you that you sort of feel, tugging at your heartstrings. Meditation is obviously the place we give ourselves the space to listen and the time to listen to what it is that's trying to make itself known in us. That urge, that whispering is always going on. It's always going on because it's life itself trying to express itself in a bigger way. And all we have to do is give ourselves a little time and space of sitting still and not checking our weapons of mass destruction that we carry with us everywhere. Somebody from Florida told me that last week, and I thought it was brilliant. I think Michael Beckwith came up with it first, but I carry mine everywhere. Weapon of mass distraction. If I have 30 seconds, I'm on it. 3 seconds, who am I kidding? I can get to Facebook in 3 seconds, can't you? Woo! If we just put that down, maybe in the other room, and give ourselves the time and space to listen to the whispering, we can hear what it is that's urging its way through us. Meditation also teaches us, I think, the ability to focus on a single place for a few minutes. That's the other thing about cell phones and always being plugged in, is we're very, very distractible. We're used to life in, 3-second slots. And to get the passion out and flowing and moving and becoming takes a little bit more than 3 seconds. And so if we can give ourselves that little bit of time and space in meditation just to hear and to let come what wants to come into our consciousness, then we also have that single-pointed focus to get it done or to get it started. And our other spiritual practice that plays in big here is visioning, because visioning is not brainstorming, and it's not thinking, and it's not visualizing. It's opening to that higher idea that you already have. You already have it. There's already something in you that wants to become by means of you. So visioning is just opening up to the big idea and sitting in silence until it begins to make itself known. And sometimes that's through pictures or words or sounds or smells or colors or what feelings, whatever it is. But it is part of our destiny, trying to get our attention. It's just trying to get our attention through a little signal to get us to pay attention and move in a certain direction. And of course, affirmative prayer, the 5 steps of prayer that we teach here, is about changing the frequency of our thought and of the frequency of our energy and being to match the desires and the ideas and the dreams that we have. We begin with oneness with the infinite. Just remembering that sometimes will give us the how can I say it? It will give us the backbone, if you will, to lean into that dream a little bit more, to lean into that vision a little bit more. Because we remember that we're infinitely powerful. We're connected to everything. We're connected to the all of it. So that there's really not much need to be practical. There's only a need to be our divine selves. And then we align ourselves with that, and we state it as if we have it now, and we get really grateful for it, and we acknowledge that thereby that the how is not ours to worry about. It's the what, and it's the step forward that are ours to do. I could no more put myself in connection with people I've never met that I need to get in contact with, but I don't even know who they are. I can't do that. But the universe can do it and does it all the time. All the time. If I will take the step, the person will show up, or the information will show up, or the idea will show up. That's ours to do. It's this trusting spirit that makes it seem like such a wild ride. That's what makes it seem so unusual and kind of blows your hair back, because you've never been there before. You've never fully leaned into, at least most of us haven't, fully leaned into and trusted that which we're leaning into. Leaned into God, leaned into spirit, leaned into our divine intuition, lean into the future and trust it. And it's sometimes feels a little bit nerve-wracking to our human selves, because we don't do it very often. The human part of us wants to have it all pinned down and planned and paid for, and we know what the end is going to be, and tries to put on the brakes by telling us to worry and to be afraid and to not take that next scary step. It wants us to be sensible. And the problem is that life usually has other plans. Usually has other plans for us. Our spiritual practice simply helps us remember that we're more than that human part of us that wants to put the brakes on. It helps us remember that we're infinite beings of power and light, and that we've always got that power and light at our disposal, and that we can lean into it, and it will show us where next to put our feet. The interesting thing about the power and light is it'll either bring us to our knees, or it will take us to the mountaintop, and that's where our choice lies. Do we lean into it, or do we fight it? It's the same creative urge. It is trying to express itself through us. It's trying to get our attention. And as the reading says, we can either get it by crash or by willingness. If we decide to go to the mountaintop, all we have to do is lean. All we have to do is lean, and we get led into places that will stretch us just a little bit at a time, but in ways we haven't been stretched before. We'll start living a life that's a lot more colorful. And we'll begin to see that those things we want to have pinned down and planned out and mapped out and paid for are sort of gray, shades of gray, compared to this full color life we can live when we're doing really what we came here to do, and being who we came here to be, and having what we came here to have. I think this is really true for all of us, but I know for myself, I know it to the very marrow of my bones, that what I had planned was really small in comparison to what Spirit still has in mind for me, has had and still has in mind for me. I think that is absolutely true for each of us, because when we let all that is within us come forth, when we let what is within us, when we bring it forth, we're shown what is truly ours to do, and we're shown exactly how to approach what we need to do it, all that we need to do it. It's light years ahead of that what the little self of us in us is willing to accept. It's light years ahead of that, because we're light years ahead of it. We are already, every single one of us, already light years ahead of all of that. There's a couple of days after today's reading, there's a little thing that really gave me pause. It said, what is truly ours is already there for us. It's already there. But we can't see it because it doesn't look like what we think it should look like. It's already there. It doesn't look like what we had planned. It doesn't look like what we had, that safe little nest we wanted to build for ourselves. But it is time, I think, for all of us in this interesting moment in space and time in which we live. It's time for all of us to just lean a little. It's time to stop holding back our potential. It's time to stop requiring that we know the end before we take the step forward, because things are changing so fast and life is calling to us on such a deep level that to do that is to really to turn our backs on all that we came here to do and be and have. So I think it's time to be present to the wonder that stares back at us from the mirror every morning. It's time to be present to the wonder of life, to the power and light that lives in us and is trying to make its way through us into the world. It's all right here and right now, if we'll simply allow that maybe we don't know what it looks like yet, and allow ourselves to see something new there instead of looking for what we expect it to look like. Maybe it's really time for us all to have the ride of our lives. I think so. So take a breath. It's all already here, and everything you need to make it so is already here as well. And let's pray together. Once again, calling into mind those 5 steps of affirmative prayer. The first being just the acknowledgement that there is only one life, there is only one mind, there is only that creative force that goes by 10,000 names. Buddha nature, God, Spirit, Allah, the universe, intelligence, the higher self, the Atman, and so many more. By whatever name we call it, it is the acknowledgement that we are all part of something vast and infinite and powerful and mysterious and ultimately wonderful. And that it lives through all of its creation, including us. And that it is making its way into the world in a greater way by means of us every moment. So that every word we speak is a divine word, and every breath we take is a divine breath, and every idea is a divine idea, and our very life is the divine life. And so right where we are is the infinite power and light of Spirit. Right where we are is the infinite wisdom and intelligence that caused this entire universe to spring into being, and that continues to expand itself and its creation, pushing and creating time and space in front of it in which to expand and grow and evolve and become. And so I know for each one of us that we simply lean into that becoming and allow it to make itself known to us, and that we take whatever step is indicated right here and right now, knowing that the end is something beyond our wildest imagination, that the end cannot be known by us at this point because we haven't learned all that we are to learn between here and that end. Leaning into this feeling of becoming, knowing that it is truly Spirit becoming by means of us, and therefore it is all already taken care of. Everything that we need is here. This power and this wonderfulness and this goodness and this love and this joy is already here. We simply open our awareness to it and let it be our very lives. And so knowing this is the truth about us and our lives, I give thanks. I give thanks for our time of celebration this morning, for everyone in this community. I give thanks for this amazing life where we are always becoming and always learning and always growing and always stretching into some place we've never been before. I give thanks for all of it. And from this place of gratitude and thanksgiving, I let it go, knowing that the universe always says yes to us. And so from this place of release and awareness and thanksgiving, I simply let it be and know that it is so. And we anchor this and acknowledge it by saying together, and so it is.